podcast platforms and additional video for Facebook, YouTube, and IGTV. For broadcast possibilities and to get your podcast started, contact us 879-4319. 879-4319. Be heard on Radio St. George, Radio Dixie, and a podcast studio. Just a few of the great things happening at Dixie State University.
Welcome to the podcast. We do recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about addiction, but more importantly, about recovery.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
You are listening to We Do Recover. I am your host, Jared Miller. Today in the Recovery Lounge, I am joined by your co-host, Dr. Terry Sellers. We got our producer, Sean Denovan, and our featured guest, Tyler Hansen. This podcast is recorded in sunny St. George, Utah. Episode 005 is brought to you by Steps Recovery Centers, where addiction ends and healing begins. And listen, if your loved one has a problem and you need some help, give them a call at 801-800-8142. Like we do every week, let's start off with what's new and good. Dr. Sellers, kick this thing off for us.
What is new and good? Hello, everybody. Hey, so I don't know if everybody knows this, but I live in Orem. I don't live down here in St. George. And so if you've listened to the podcast at all, every other week I'm in studio, and then the odd weeks I call in live. So this is the week I'm down here.
Welcome.
It's my 38th wedding anniversary today. Yes, that's right. Some human being put up with me for 38 years.
Hey, listen, this isn't like a dash of you. I'm not trying to make you look, feel old, but
I'm
you've
old.
been married for 4 less years than I've been alive.
Well, there you go.
Congratulations.
We're probably going to beat you because we're still going to be married when you die. So anyway, the reason I talked about being up in Orem and coming down, my wife's with me this weekend, but she doesn't usually come down, and so we're just having a little tiny get away, and all the kids and grandkids are back up north, and we're down here, and so I'm excited. It's fun. I'm glad to be here in the studio in our what we've now labeled Recovery Lounge, and I don't know if I have anything much more new and good than the fact that I'm still married after all the craziness I put her through.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Tyler Hansen, let's get you involved in the mix. What's new and good in your life, buddy?
And life is good. I grateful to be down here in sunny St. George, and already played 18 holes of golf this morning, and things are good.
Whoa.
Nice.
Did I get a phone call? I don't remember that.
I didn't get a text or a phone call.
I must have not had service. Maybe it was on airplane mode.
Oh,
sorry about
wait,
that,
he
guys.
did bring us. You saw what he brought us,
He
though.
brought us golf balls. That's nice.
He totally.
Where'd you play?
Is it Cedar? What is it?
I don't know, but you're going to need to walk up on the mic
I'll
a
come
little
up a little closer.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of it.
Don't worry about it. Copper Rock?
Nope.
Have you ever played Copper Rock?
Not yet.
Okay,
I
you
heard
gotta-
it's incredible.
Yeah, they're not a sponsor of ours, so
Okay.
they're getting free advertising, but Copper Rock is incredible. You got to play Copper Rock.
I just want to say, listen, I understand a lot of people are afraid to invite me because I'm super good. I most of the time just play best ball because I'm that good.
That guy.
If you get what I'm saying, I'm terrible. Thank you. Welcome. We're super excited to get to you. Of course, our favorite producer, Sean Denovan.
The man.
What's up?
Listen, I'm going to ask what's new and good with you, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
The story within the story is Sturgis.
Oh, yeah. I went to Sturgis last week. It's fantastic. 2 days of riding there. We saw Devil's Tower at sunset, pulled into Sturgis with rain and hail. It's fantastic. It's like night, hail, rain, and a broken clutch.
Oh, yeah.
So we pulled into our hotel. We're like, okay, great. Tomorrow we'll fix the clutch. We'll find a welding guy, and then we'll go into Sturgis. 4 welding shops later, we finally got it fixed. But at the same time, I had a carburetor problem, spewing gas everywhere. So we spent 4 hours behind a Conoco gas station rebuilding my carbs twice. So about 5 o'clock, we finally got to Sturgis, walked around for 5 hours. All right, this is cool. And then went home.
Hey, you know what, though? That's an adventure.
And then 2 full days of riding. We did Denver to St. George in 1 day. That was
Oh, my
on an
gosh.
85 Suzuki. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah, so my wife's like, it's always an adventure. I said, it's not an adventure. It's like when you get on the bike, somebody says, welcome to Jumanji. And that's kind of how it is.
How are we going to die today? is the adventure.
Yeah, I need to get that shirt made.
I'm glad that you were able to get away and do that. That sounds like a blast.
That was
Is
fantastic.
that your first time at Sturgis?
First time I went was about 10 years ago by accident.
Okay. How do you get to Sturgis by accident?
You're just riding your bike across the country and you see all these bikes. Where are they going? And then you see signs for Sturgis. Oh, I guess I'll go there. So that was it.
Well, I like it.
So I walked around there that time for an hour. So, I increased it fivefold this time.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right, well, let's get to it. Tyler Hansen, first of all, just thank you for coming on. We're super excited to have you on the show. Let's start off by telling our listeners what your life in recovery looks like today.
Grateful to be on. Thank you guys for having me. Terry's been a good friend of our family, and his son and my brother grew up playing golf together, and all the work you're doing. Appreciate that. You're beloved down at Steps, so anytime you want to come down and hang out, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really grateful for recovery. I get to come down to St. George. We've got a facility down here, and pretty much every day I come down, I get to go play golf with my dad, or my brother-in-laws were down here this time, and my dad's got a good buddy named Kenny Holm that he actually played basketball with at Rick's College back in the day. So Kenny Holm is 6'9". My dad is 6'5", and they are become these avid golfers, but they just sit and talk trash to each other the whole time. And I have this realization that no matter what my life was like, if I'd have been alive then, there was no chance I would have gone into the paint at all. Because those two suckers would have fouled the crap out of you.
Yeah.
So just grateful for life. One of the owners of Steps Recovery Centers with Paul Walkenhorst, a really neat guy and good partner. And just really grateful to be alive. I'm pretty sure I was thinking about recovery today, and I'm just one of those people that was blessed enough to get a second chance that I didn't deserve, and just trying to make the most of it. So life is good.
That's amazing. For those of you listening in that didn't catch that, Tyler Hansen is one of the owners of Steps Recovery Center. And will you just tell us real quick, where are the centers at? I know they're in Utah. Go ahead.
So there's 7 locations. We have offices in Salt Lake, Draper, Payson, St. George is the furthest south we go, but they're all just here in beautiful Utah. So Orem, they're awesome.
Nice. Let's get into Tyler Hansen's life in recovery. Tell us about your family. I see it on Facebook, right? Social media, follow you. Tell us about how many kids you have, wife, how long you've been married. Let's get the deets.
So I've been married, be coming up on 5 years here in October, to a wonderful, patient woman who's in recovery herself. She'll have 7 years this coming January. And so she's got that. I'll have 9 years coming in October. I decided to put my sobriety birthday close to my wedding anniversary so that I would remember that. It's been successful at this point.
Smart move.
Yeah, I'm learning. But I've got 5 kids. My oldest is playing football at American Fork. He's a stud. He's a good kid.
Go position.
Go caveman.
Yeah, go caveman. He's a linebacker.
Hey, love it.
Yeah, I'm more than happy with it. He was playing the other day and got run over pretty good because there's some pretty solid dudes there. And let me say this publicly: if he starts golfing and never plays football again, that's going to be okay with Dad too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because my heart hasn't quit racing since that happened. So love him. I have a daughter named Isabella who's just a bookworm and beautiful and a lot smarter than I am even at that age. And a daughter named Amelia, who would rather be locked in a room with a book than talk to another human being no matter what.
I have some of those days.
Yeah, I completely understand it. Social anxiety, the whole 9 yards, and she's just awesome. And then we have a 3-year-old little girl named Tyler who is just an angel and is redheaded, and as redheaded, all the traits that they say come with that are accurate. She is as fiery as they get and as sharp as they get. And then I have a little 18-month-old boy named Maverick, and he's the caboose, and he is an animal. So he hasn't figured out the difference between the dog and the cat.
Okay.
The dog will let you tackle it, and will play with you and not bite you. The cat actually hates everyone in the house. So every now and again, he'll run in and tackle the cat and get a pretty good swipe on the forehead. And he's going to learn the hard way, some of these lessons like his dad. So
He'll figure it out.
yeah,
Yep.
it's taken some time, but life is good, man. I have a beautiful family, and, you know, the opposite of addiction we talk about a lot of times is connection. And the connections I have are outstanding. I have, you know, I have been so blessed with just incredible relationships. And I've said this before. I think the more sober I am, the smarter my dad's gotten. He may have been that smart all along, Terry. I'm not sure.
I'm sure it was him that changed.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things in therapy. If I fix your mom, then will you be able to get better? Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, she's not here, so we're going to work on you. But I'm a substance use disorder counselor. I got admitted to BYU to get my master's degree, and working on that stuff. Taking a couple of semesters off with COVID to kind of run the business and focus on steps, and so I'm going to finish that up, I think, online. But just really grateful. Get to work and consult with the sheriff's office and the RISE program up in Utah County. They actually let me walk in and out of the jail freely today. And
Could you even imagine that back in the day?
Yeah.
just no, there's no way. But
You don't have the thing. Your arms aren't behind your back for some reason.
yeah, I get to wear my own underwear in and
That's
out.
unbelievable.
And I don't even have to eat lunch there, even though it's offered. So that's part of the best.
Hold on, you're passing on their lunch?
Yes, yes.
Weird.
Wow.
I've not
would
broken
never do
down to
that?
eat lunch there. Do you want to? Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Hope, though. I want to hear about what they got going on up there and some of the stuff you're involved in, because that is your life in recovery today.
Yeah. It was the brainchild of James Childs, who's a really good friend of mine, and Ann Waite and a couple other people. But essentially what they did was went into jail and said, hey, let's make a transition program for people that are getting out. Instead of getting out, put them on the bus, dropping them off in downtown Provo, let's find some resources. Let's connect them with Food and Care Coalition to treatment resources and see what people have available for the people that want to change. You know, I think you guys would agree, you know, part of the harm reduction conversation of things is we're trying to keep people alive long enough to get better. And that's one of the things is if they have a chance to go home to a safe environment and have some food that night, the chances of them not using are well above them being homeless on the street and trying to survive that way. So that's kind of his brainchild that he's allowed me to kind of attend and do. And they have Jeffrey Jones, Jason Heidel, some of the guys that are there, as well as the captains have been really supportive with it, and Mike Smith and everybody else. And it's just been outstanding. It's been really, really good.
That's awesome. I love that. I can totally relate to what you're saying. I feel like treatment is amazing, and we set these people up for success, right? And I've said on other podcasts, I may have mentioned it on here, treatment is the pregame, right? When you get released, that is the kickoff. That's when the clock starts. It was extremely difficult for me to transition from treatment back into the real world.
Yep.
I had a bachelor's degree. I was used to hearing a lot of yeses. I was used to a lot of great opportunities. And all of a sudden it seemed like the world closed their door to me. And this isn't a pity, right, statement. I'm just being real with my experience. And I love that because we're really good about treating them and getting them help. But then I feel like sometimes, not always, and I love Hope that they're doing this, there can be a disconnect between treatment and the real world, helping people transition. Listen, a sponsor's great, but if it wasn't for people like Terry being a mentor to me or other people that have been mentors to me to give me opportunities, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. One of the, biggest things, and I have a mentor named Desmond Lomax, and he works for us. He's our executive director now. And one of the things we talk about all the time is jail is full of people with mental health issues and people that are poor. It isn't for people that we're mad at. It's supposed to be for people that we're scared of. And we've used it, and the good news is some of these conversations are happening in society, but you can kind of see this switch as to, addiction's always been seen as these people are so dumb, they keep having the same issue, but it's their choice and there's nothing they can do about it. Whereas it's softening over the years because people with addiction issues are clearly people that have mental health issues. And part of the blessing of kind of COVID that I've seen is we can finally have some of these conversations of, normal people, day-to-day people have mental health issues. People go through hard things and they don't know how to get out of them. and they don't have any access to treatment, and what are they supposed to do with it? So that's been part of the blessing, is let's really look at the systems we have in place, and are we really helping, or are we hurting? You know, if I had to quit my job every 6 months because I got incarcerated again and start my job and my life over and get another car and have somebody help me out one more time, I mean, I did that 300 times when I was in my addiction. We've got to look at ways to kind of soften those blows, and the RISE program is simply, you know, we have all these wonderful treatment resources, especially down here with Washington County Court Support Services and, all, you know, Hope Rising and all the cool, you know, organizations, Renaissance Ranch, Lionsgate, everybody that's down here. Can we take an extra bed and give somebody a chance that doesn't deserve it? Because
Yeah. Have I been calling it wrong the whole time? Is it Hope or is it Rise?
Rise.
It's
yeah,
Rise.
yeah.
And I apologize.
No, you're
I
fine.
got that wrong. So with Rise, that's amazing. That's what you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a statewide thing?
No, it's just in the Utah County Jail, and so they're doing the same idea down here. Charmaine's goal, if you know her, she's Washington County Court Support Services. They're working on a receiving center, which will be essentially the same brilliant idea. So instead of when you're arrested going and being incarcerated, you'll be arrested, have an assessment from a therapist, and then have access to treatment. So it's just kind of changing the way we've done things, but it's cool because we're actually looking at it and going to find some systems that work better. And with Medicaid and all of the access to treatment that we have currently, we have beds, we have resources, we have places we can put people and get them the help that they need. Because let me tell you what, you know, we don't have any disease, Terry, you can probably back me up on this, that I think is treated by locking you in a box with somebody else that has the disease, save leprosy. I mean, that one seems to work out well if we give you your own island.
Right. But then there's no great vacation islands left. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
yeah. No, that's a great viewpoint. You said jails are filled with people who have mental health disorders or poor people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you count in that substance use disorders, I mean, that's another giant piece of the population, right? We've known for years that jail is not helpful for those people.
Yep.
It's just not helpful. People, come on, you've been doing this for a little bit. What do people do the day they get out of jail? They go use.
Yeah.
Because jail's not helpful to somebody with a substance use disorder.
Well,
Now, what you do is you keep them away from the drug for a second, but that's it. That's the only thing that jail does for a person with a substance use disorder.
And here's the discussion I had with a guy in Rise, and this wasn't too long ago, is he said he's been in and out of jail 1,000 times or whatever since he was 18. He's now 43. Yes.
Hold on. And probably most of those were little tiny minor
They're
drug offenses,
minor
right?
infractions,
like
right?
These
And-
things that you don't need to lock a guy up for
Yeah.
the rest of his life.
And he's on, he knows every agent, he knows every officer. He's one of those guys that's homeless and on the streets, and when it's cold, he's going to drink so he can stay warm, whatever that looks like. And so I said, hey, what do we do? How do we help you? Let's get you some resources. And here's the issue. He has fines and fees of excess of $65,000.
Oh, geez.
And he has child support in arrears, which is also in excess. So I can get him a job at KFC tomorrow making $12 an hour, maybe if he gets lucky. The state's going to come in, and they're going to take half of that, right? And they want this guy, and they're telling this guy, if you do this long enough, you can stay sober and rebuild your life, which is not accurate.
Right.
It is so hard for those guys to get a leg up.
I was going to say, call me crazy. I truly believe
You're crazy.
the majority, thank you. I truly believe the majority of people that get released day one from jail, right? They, in their heart of hearts, especially if they've gone through a heavy detox while incarcerated, do not want to go back to that substance.
Yeah.
But the picture you just painted, Tyler, of I get out, I'm gung-ho, but then life hits you right in the face
Yeah.
right off the bat. I mean,
Yeah.
you painted a perfect picture of, okay, this is the starting point. And honestly, this is what inspired me to really start this podcast, is to give people hope that, sure, if you're in that situation, whether you're released from jail, treatment, whatever it is, and life smacks you in the face, not everybody's just waiting for that day that they get released to run out and use again, right? Mm-hmm. I truly believe substance abuse is the last part of mental health problems. So they get hit right in the face right off the bat. They're stressed. How have they dealt with stress in the past? Substance use. So I think that's huge. I love it.
Well,
Which is one of the concepts that I've always tried to teach. And if you've seen Kevin McCauley's stuff like Pleasure Unwoven, one of the things we know about treating substance use disorders is punishment and coercion are not effective at all. So I agree with you. Most people don't come out of jail or prison wanting to use, but they come out of jail or prison on a cold November night, don't even have enough money to have a car to sleep in, and it's cold. You know, a little vodka warms them right up, frankly. A little bit of heroin will not warm them, but they don't care that they're cold. Or,
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that's just a really critical problem if people are coming just out of jail or prison and just don't have any access to any resources at all. I can see how you and I and all of us would consider using under those circumstances.
And it just, I mean, you can see with COVID, all of the, lack of access to jobs and financial problems and different things that brought on mental health issues and gave some light to this as a society. I mean, I hope we'll take this time to kind of look at it and say, all the substance abuse issues and all these different things, if you had the life that this guy has, you would get high too, because we can't, we have a horrible time dealing with a virus that honestly isn't going to wipe out half the population. Imagine if those were your circumstances. You're getting out, you owe $100,000 in arrears, and the best thing you can get is a $12 an hour job, and hopefully your parents are alive and you can sleep in the basement. How is that guy gonna get a fair shake or recover? And that was my experience with getting out of prison and getting out of jail. Was all my money got garnished, everything got taken away. I wanted to go back to school, I wanted to make something of my life, but I mean, you've got 3.5 strikes against you just getting out of the gate. So that's the big piece, is just kind of saying, hey, let's switch the dialogue from mental health to substance abuse or whatever we want to make it. But for once, let's look at it and say, maybe this is something we're creating as a society. Maybe we can love these guys better and give them more opportunities to get healthy and stay healthy.
Yeah, and some of them are gonna fall flat on their faces. Yep. Maybe not. Maybe some people have dirty intentions versus clean intentions, right? But there's two of us that I know for sure, 3 that are sitting in this room that have gone through that and been able to make the most of it. Mm-hmm. I think I've said on a past podcast, it's tough because you don't get a lot of opportunities, which I love that Rise is providing those opportunities. And if you're listening to this, when you get those opportunities, it's game time. You've got to make the most of those opportunities, right?
And that was, I don't want to get emotional with this, but my brother grew up with Terry's son, and they played thousands of rounds of golf at Riverside Country Club growing up. And that was the one thing. He overdosed and died while I was incarcerated. And it was so, so painful, and still is to talk about with my family today. But it was the one wake-up call finally after 300,000 relapses and treatment and all these things, that heroin took everything from me. My brother, who I love, that was more handsome than me and funnier than me and was just a better human being than me, is gone. And it was the thought of heroin took so much to me. Now I'm gonna come say take something from you, heroin. And so that's the kind of the day in, day out drive of, I'm not gonna save everybody, but maybe we can get a few. And if we can help a few more, why not?
Wow, that's beautiful. And get emotional if you want. Listen, this is stuff, right? This is the real stuff. So, I'm sitting here thinking as you were talking about sometimes the general public would see a guy coming out of prison and say, look, if that guy would just stop using drugs, his problems would all go away. Well, while that might be true, they might go away in 2 years.
Yeah. No, that's
the day you get out of prison, they're not going anywhere. The week you get out of prison, those problems are right there in your face, and sometimes they're extremely difficult problems. And so I love what you're doing. I like the concept of helping guys out. I also like the concept of turning that stigma around and saying that's not true. Like, if the guy would just stop using drugs, he'd still have all his problems right now. He can work on them if he stops using drugs, but it's an untrue statement that if he would just stop using drugs, all his problems would go away. That's not true.
Yeah, and
mental health problems don't go away.
No, that was, and that's, to be candid, you guys, I still have mental health issues.
Sure.
I still have stuff I deal with on a daily basis. If I work out, and I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he's got a bad back, and I don't have, the greatest joints in the world from playing sports and everything else. But we were laughing, if we stay in shape and we work out every morning, and I'm not, don't let things get out of whack and watch what I eat, I'm okay. 9 out of 10 surgeons will recommend surgery. I've never had any of those, and I've been lucky to avoid them. But I'm okay if I do some self-care and take care of myself and watch what I eat and do that. But it doesn't happen overnight.
Right. Those fixes are long-term fixes, and they require constant daily attention. And that's not what our society is geared for, right? Our society is take a pill and it all goes away in 5 minutes.
And we know treatment is most successful at the 18-month mark. And so it's just that connection. Can we stay connected to a therapist? Can we stay connected to a group of people? And that's been the nice thing with STEPS is we have an alumni program, about 400 people up in Utah County and 250 down here that they can stay connected to.
I love it. You guys have been listening to episode 005. We got featured Tyler Hansen. Stay with us for part 2, where we get into the details of his addiction.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after the short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers, brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
Welcome. Hey, we took a quick break and we're back. We're in the recovery lounge with our guest today, Tyler Hansen. My name is Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host. Jared Miller is in the house.
What up?
And our technical guru who solves all problems, Sean Denovan, is in the house.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, there we go. We got some Sean Denovan on the mic, so that's awesome. So in part 1, as a recap, we talked a little bit about some of the things that you're doing while you have been in recovery, and they're amazing things. We want to go back and talk about a little bit of that story, but got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we do that. So first of all, I don't know if I told you guys, it's my 38th wedding anniversary. Did I mention that?
Yeah, buddy.
I hope I mentioned it a bunch because it scores me points. Well, we came down last night and we stayed. Guess where we stayed?
Where?
The Hilton Garden Inn.
How was it?
Oh, my gosh. It
That
was
place
so
is
good.
amazing.
Okay, so the Hilton Garden Inn was great. We didn't pull in until like midnight last night. I have a job in Richfield on Thursdays, and so we came in from Richfield and didn't pull in until after midnight. And the night clerk was so good. Like, the guy was unbelievable. The service was great. This guy was maybe one of the most helpful guys I've ever had. My bed was awesome. I slept like a stone. It was awesome. Anyway, Hilton Garden Inn was one of our new sponsors. We appreciate that, and you should know that it's always sunny and friendly at the Hilton Garden Inn, St. George.
It really is. Hey, I've gone there, and the second you walk in the door, it smells clean. It's nice. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, one of the things we do in the second segment a lot?
A phone call or an email, right?
Do we have a question today for the mad scientist?
Yes.
I don't know if that's me or not, but
That is definitely you.
somebody have a question? Let's see what we got.
All right, before we do, if you have a question for Dr. Terry Sellers, you can contact us at 801-410-0676. All these numbers.
Man, you got a bunch of numbers you got to memorize.
Yes.
That's
So
rough.
give us a
Nice
call
job.
at 801-410-0676, or you can email us at WeDoRecoverWithJaredMiller@gmail.com.
Beautiful.
All right, let's get to it. Are you ready to hear it?
Yeah, I'm ready to hear this. Let's see what we got today.
Hi, this is Nathan Osmond. I got a question for Dr. Sellers. I was curious. I was wondering, what is one of the craziest or funniest lies that a patient has ever told you who was seeking drugs? You've probably heard a million different stories, but I just was curious, what kind of imaginative stories have you been told, or questions, when someone trying to seek drugs?
All right, well, that's a good question. And listen, you guys feel free to chime in if you have any stories, but I was thinking about this, and I couldn't come up with just the craziest ones. I know I've had some super crazy ones, but there's a couple of things that came to my mind immediately. First of all, in a previous life of mine, I used to deliver babies. That was a long time ago, and I was at times using drugs during that period of my life. I don't believe I ever delivered a baby high, but I'm not going to be able to swear that I didn't, but that's irrelevant. Patients would call into the office all the time seeking drugs, and it used to make me really angry because I'm projecting now, right? It makes me angry that they want drugs when I'm using
What's
drugs,
that saying?
which is ridiculous. I know.
If you spot it, you got it.
Yeah, well, I had it, and I spotted it. But people call in all the time. Hey, doc, my pain pills fell into the toilet. Okay, nobody's thyroid medication ever fell into the toilet. In the whole time that I practiced medicine, nobody's birth control pills ever fell into the toilet.
Weird.
Only pain pills fall into toilets. I don't know if you know that.
Or get stolen out of cars.
Or my dog ate my pain pills. Well, your dog's feeling good right now, first of all. And second of all, how come your dog doesn't eat any other medications? He only eats your pain pills. So that's one of the stories I heard for sure. And then I've heard every excuse under the book, and I'm sure you've heard some of these too, in people who feel like they need to leave treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I had a girl who was actually somebody I knew fairly well from, not from my previous life or anything, but I had treated her at another location, and then she'd come into a treatment center I was working at, and she was great, just had a great spirit and everything, but one day she got this wild hair that she was not going to live any longer if she couldn't go see her dogs. Like, she had to make sure her dogs were okay. She had 3 dogs, and she had left treatment and left the dogs in the care of somebody else, and she got all worried that the dogs were, that something was wrong with the dogs, and she had to go check on them right now. She was drunk before she got to the dogs, right?
Yep.
I mean, she was drunk before she actually got to the dogs. And people believe these things in their minds. Their brains tell them, I got to get out of here, I got to get out of here, I got to get out of here. And what it really means, but they don't recognize it, is I need to use right now. Mm-hmm. And we've talked a little bit about this before, but that urge to use comes in the survival part of our brain. And our brain starts to perceive we're not going to survive unless we get whatever our drug of choice is. It's a false belief. It's not true, but it is something that happens in your midbrain, which is unconscious, and you're not aware of it happening. You're not aware of it because it's entirely unconscious. But all these excuses that you've ever heard of people needing to leave treatment, and I'm sure you guys could come up with some yourselves, but all of those things really are a fake signal from your brain saying, we want to use right now.
No, we had one like
on
last
my
week,
dog.
and I think the guy had a tattoo appointment
Oh,
that he was not
yeah.
willing to miss, and it was going to be a recovery-based tattoo, and so
Beautiful.
it was a beautiful thing. But yeah, I didn't. I don't think he was out very long, and,
Yeah, he
and
didn't.
was calling us, wanting to come back, and
Sure.
it's just crazy how your mind gets.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy, I'm sure, was convinced that tattoo was going to change
Oh,
his life.
we staffed it, and he came into the clinical meeting, and his therapist was unethical, and she just didn't understand. And I appreciated the entire conversation; it was fantastic. But yeah, your mind just tricks you into this spot where if I don't use and get high, I'm going to die.
Yep, that's true.
It's sad, the things that keep us from staying in recovery, right?
Yep.
What
All
I-
right, well, shall we transition?
Yeah, let's
Talk to
I want, what that made me think of?
Mr. Hansen. Tell me.
I want to hear maybe
What do we
Tyler
got?
Hansen talk about
What do we got? So take
things
us
that
back.
he's during his details of his addiction.
Take us back before you were addicted.
What were some excuses?
Kind
he
of
had?
what happened when you got addicted, how that all transpired. Let's go there.
So I grew up in Utah County. My family is the Hansons. So my dad was a great athlete, played ball at Rick's College and BYU, and then my little brother is Travis Hansen that played at BYU and then in the NBA.
I cannot believe I didn't know that connection until just now.
Yeah, that guy. And then my
Your
sisters.
dad's house was off of the 7th hole
Yeah.
on Riverside.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Where have I been all my life? Oh my God.
You and I did a significant amount of drugs
Well,
earlier.
I think that's probably.
I usually
the
tie
problem.
that to most of my issues
That's
now.
Probably the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know your dad.
Yep.
I know Travis.
Yep.
I knew Landon.
Yeah. Yeah, and Landon was a fantastic basketball player. My sisters were animals. They're still by far, because they're probably listening to this, the best athletes in the family.
Yeah,
they are the
twins.
They are the meanest, still currently.
They
my
went
sister,
to
too.
Mountain View,
Mountain
right?
View, yep.
Yeah.
And they when Mountain View was going, I think they pretty much won state championships every year, and they played at BYU, and they're just great.
Yeah.
And the reason I know I'm a mediocre athlete is basically because for some reason I was born into this family, and I'm 5'11" with cleats on a good day, right?
3-inch cleats.
3-inch cleats, most likely.
Just kidding.
But I was in this family and ultra competitive, and it was wonderful, and never had really any addiction issues, and went on an LDS mission. When I was out about a year, I got a phone call to come to the mission home and found out my mom had pancreatic cancer and was going to die.
Oh, man.
And so I got to come home, was home for 10 days. My mom's dying wish was I finish my mission. And I think right then, you guys, I made this deal with God of, okay, I'll stay and do the right thing, but when I'm done, you're going to support me and you're going to take care of me.
Huh.
And
I like telling God what to do.
yeah, it seemed to work at the time, although I don't think he paid any attention to that whatsoever. And so, missions are tough. I worked hard. I was assistant to the president. I had a ton of success, but I never talked about my mom. You don't have therapy, you don't have access to things, and the overwhelming thing at that time was just work hard. And I thought, okay, I'll work hard, I'll get home, and I'll deal with it then. And I was able to compartmentalize stuff and be a really good missionary and work really hard, which I think is part of that addictive personality, which I have. But what it did was it created some separation and some mental health things for me, because I wasn't able to deal with emotions at all. So I'd have, an argument with somebody and I would just lose it because I wasn't able to process things and work through things. So I got home and I thought in my mind I would go through it with my family and we could look at pictures of the funeral. And the reality is it's the most painful thing. I lost a mom, my dad lost a wife. They're working through it and processing it, but nobody's wanting to go back and relive those days. And I think for me, I didn't know about therapy. I didn't know about different things. And I really became like mentally not okay. And
It was almost like your grief cycle was behind theirs.
yes,
Interrupted by
Yeah, it was
something in
yeah,
life. Like
put on
you didn't
pause.
get to do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was a year behind. And if you follow Kubler-Ross and all of the different grief cycles, I mean, I was just mad and I was sad at the same time. And at that, all I knew how to do was work out and try to process it that way. And I'd always identified as an athlete, so I could do that part and kind of self-care, get through with it, but I wasn't dealing with the mental aspects of things. Some of my relationships were suffering. I got married at the time to a good girl, and kind of the same experience you had, Jared, just ran her through the rocks because I was just nuts.
Yeah.
And in this time, I started playing on some softball teams competitively and playing like semi-pro softball and played on some world champion teams, but it was all with older guys. And part of that deal was everybody took painkillers all the time, and it was kind of in the OxyContin heyday. So along with that, everybody had access at the same time. And so I can remember it was, a Saturday, we'd played 9 games. It was bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. I couldn't walk. My legs were cramping, and somebody gave me a couple Lortab. And of course, here's the issue with baseball. Not only did I take those, but I got the winning hit for the game. So I believed in my head, these are the answer, right? It's not the dirty underwear and not changing my socks. It's the Lortab. And we won that year and the next year and the year after a ton of games and played all over the country, and it was a lot of fun. But I just got completely, that was the one time, you guys, in years and years and years, I had a respite from my pain and from my suffering and from my emotional things. And I used those. I have people all the time, and Terry can relate to this, that say, I don't use painkillers because all they do is take away the pain. And I just laugh like, that's too bad. It's not only did they take away the pain, but I'm the other side for opiates. So it's almost like meth for me. So I'm excited, I'm active, I want to do stuff, I feel good, I feel great, my joints don't ache, and it's just this party and let's go. And so I became super addicted to that feeling, and I couldn't, my family was successful, my brother was having successes, and I traded on my family's good name for doctors and drugs, and was stealing money and doing different things. And you know, everybody wants a piece of you. But at the same time, the message I had received over years and years was, you know, here your family are these incredible athletes. And what people had said, and I had taken really personally because of where I was mentally, was what happened to you.
Yeah.
And it was just a funny thing that people say and your friends would say, but about the 3,000th time, you go, well, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, and to be clear, nobody's trying to like be ignorant or bully you. They're saying it as a joke.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, after time, you start to think, but hold on, are you serious?
Mm-hmm. And in our addictions, and in mine especially, you do the comparison thing. So it's your strengths to my weaknesses to your strengths.
Yeah.
And for my brother, I was never going to be 6'7". I was never going to go in the NBA. None of those things were ever going to happen. And you be able to compare yourself with things you can't do anything about. I cannot make myself taller. I cannot make myself dunk no matter what I do. I've tried a lot, right?
They don't allow 3-inch cleats in the NBA.
No.
Okay. Dang.
If they did, I still would be 5 inches, 5 feet short, really. But it was just one of these messages that kind of reoccurred. And so there was a point of desperation where you've lost everything, and I burned through all my money and burned through jobs. And I just thought, I'm going to be addicted to something the rest of my life. And so I got, for about a decade, heavily involved in, heroin and cocaine and Oxycontin and buying and selling and doing all these crazy things. And I ended up getting caught in Utah County and going before Judge Samuel McVeigh, who's an old Army captain. And my uncle was the DA at the time. And I remember sitting there with my best friend's little brother was the prosecuting attorney. And in my head, right, this is the mental health piece, I honestly thought, you guys, I will be out of here in 5 minutes and high in 10. And the judge did what they always do and said, Mr. Hansen, if you don't quit screwing around, we're going to send you to prison. And essentially, through my through my public defender, I said, I don't think you can do that. And it turns out they can.
They can do that.
Yeah. So note to self, if you're going to court this week, just be quiet and don't say anything because they can hear everything. And guys, I went to prison, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it was that one ego part that said, you're done. And this is just how this goes, and you can't talk your way out of it. And I immediately got in the back, and I thought, can I appeal this decision? And they said, no. No.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that. And we spoke off air before, and he said we have similar stories, and I can see it now. It's crazy. So that I love that you said that. It was the best thing that could ever happen to you, because a lot of times people look at rock bottoms as like they're supposed to be the worst, right? But I think that what we view it as is the decline ended, right?
Yes.
The incline began.
Can a non-addict even conceive of someone saying prison is the best thing that ever happened to me?
Yeah. So that was your rock bottom, Tyler.
That was it, man. And I went in, I was in a group like the third day, and there was this African-American guy named Anthony King that was our therapist. And I just started doing therapy on everybody. And Anthony sat down and watched, and I thought that was permission to continue going. And he got up and clapped his hands and said, Mr. Hansen, that's wonderful. He said, the masks you wear, the games you play, the person you're pretending to be is not even real. And he said, if you do this again or you speak to anyone in the next 30 days, I'm going to make sure you go to the other side of the prison.
I love it.
I said, Mr. King, and he said, that's too much. And for 30 days, he brought me in, and he let me sit in his office, and I'd go, Mr. King, and he'd say, get out of my office. And I got the message, you guys, of you've run your life into the rocks and then some. You've earned your seat here in prison, but what are you going to do next? And so I had some incredible people show up for me. Desmond Lomax, who's our executive director now, was working there at the time, and we had some incredible conversations of if you want to be a therapist, you could do that. If you want to own a treatment center, you could do that. And I've had some people kind of on my side the whole way, and he's been one of them. And to this day, you guys, I'll call him, and I got, married in the temple and had all these, got into school and got into BYU and bought steps, and I'll call him and think, Desmond's going to say, great job. And he's this guy that played linebacker for BYU, and he's just a stud. And every time I call him, he just goes, brother, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. You don't even understand who you are yet. You're just getting started. And I would just cry. you guys, because it was somebody that saw something in me that I couldn't see myself. I'd been talked about potential and all the things that you should be, and all the good parts of life, but it was this person that had never lied to me. And I remember when he said that, I thought, why is he lying to me right now? Why would he do that to me? I'm in prison, I'm broken, I don't have anything to give him. Why would he lie? And it's those people and those moments, you know, that Terry's done for people. I've heard stories and stories, and Jared's done for our clients in Steps Recovery Center, that give you that little glimmer of hope that I think is, if this guy can do it, maybe I can do it. And that changed the direction of my entire life. And it wasn't a ton of conversations. I can't say why the 30,000 other conversations before that didn't register, but I can say in that moment, Terry, I'd been sober for 2 years in prison. My mind had returned and was clear to some degree. And it was one of those spiritual things of, this man is here and he would not lie to you. And I can go back to that and kind of trace everything back, and got out of prison. It was brutal. Had to, you know, my family didn't want anything to do with me. Had to go stay with some friends in Grantsville that would have me. Had to ride my bike to work. Had to take the bus. Didn't have anything. Had to try to get into school. Had money from child support that would get garnished out of my account all the time. I mean, it was a constant like drain and battle and all these different things. And you don't have any help. You don't have anybody coming to save you. And I was so lucky to get the opportunities I've gotten to today, that I think that's, you know, the overwhelming part of all this, and that you guys are doing too, is we just want to help one more person. And I don't have a hard time reaching into my guts and telling these painful stories. If somebody hears it and thinks maybe tomorrow will be better than today. And you know, that's the biggest piece for me, was I was crazy. I was addicted. I was a liar, a thief, you know, just a terrible person across the board. There wasn't anything I touched that I didn't make worse. And today, I think all the time, Terry, that Hippocratic oath of, can I leave somebody better than I found them? Do no harm, but help where you can. And I think I've gone back and got my education. My SUDC thing was huge. BYU was outstanding. Finishing up my master's will be wonderful. And I think in that process, you learn how much you don't know. And you think, oh, I'm here, and I know this stuff, and I own this, you know, the largest private treatment center in the state of Utah. And guys, I don't know anything. I really don't. I went to lunch twice last week with Gary Fisher from Cirque Lodge, and we just sit there, and he had the same experience kind of I did with going through the California prison system. And we just, you know, how can we help somebody else? What can we do? And he's dealing with, you know, all the money and all the fame and every other piece, and he'll constantly tell me it's the same message. You can be who you want to be. You can do this better. You may have all the access to all the money in the world, but what I'm going to give you is your life back. Yeah. And it's just a beautiful process. So I'm just immensely grateful for you guys allowing me to kind of share the message on your podcast, but the message in general of, you know, we do recover. We do get better, and our lives can be, I mean, my life's unmanageable. You know, I got to play golf this morning with my dad, who's my hero, who I love more than anybody, and who's helped me more than, you know, it's the one person that just never gave up. And I don't deserve that, you know. I shouldn't be here. My brother, who is better than me, isn't here, but I'm going to make the best of it today. So
we're going to have to disagree on some of those points.
Okay.
You deserve it all, dude.
Ah, man.
You do.
Thank
We
you
all
for
do.
that.
We all do. And I think that, you know, the message that I like to carry is, this guy that you are today was always there, always inside of you, and always had all of those abilities, but drugs and alcohol rob you of that.
Yeah.
Getting clean doesn't give you some well, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't give you any superhuman abilities that weren't already there. Yeah. It's just those drugs and alcohol mask that. And listen, Jared and I have this running argument because I'm a giant BYU fan, right? And Jared turns out not to be such a big BYU. He likes some other school. I can't remember what their name is.
Oh, boy.
But he's holding up I don't know what he's doing with his fingers now. Two
UU,
L's.
baby.
He's got a loser and a loser on each finger, and it turns into some symbol. But as a giant BYU fan, listen, I'm a fan of Travis Hansen, right? He's not better than you. I don't know anything. I don't know much about Travis's personal life. He's probably a better basketball player than you. I might give him that. I'm guessing if you were that good, you'd have played for the Atlanta Hawks for a while as well, but not a better human being than you. And I'm not downplaying what a kind of human being he is. I know some of the things he's done with his life, but man, nobody's doing better things than you're doing right now.
I appreciate you coming on and telling your story, and I second everything that the Dr. Sellers says. The thing that I absolutely loved was the person that you talked about saw you for who you are now and the potential you have. Because I think a lot of times as addicts, and I was really good at playing this game too, we look and say, I should be here. I should be doing these things. I should be. And he brought it to your attention. Here's where you are, but here's the potential that you have. Take us out in the last 30 seconds. Bring hope to the listeners, as if you haven't already brought enough.
Yeah, you got a summary message?
Just, if you're struggling, if it's hurting, if it's mental health, if it's substance abuse, whatever it is, there's somebody out there that can help you. And so please reach out. The best parts of my days today are the relationships like we have with Jared and Terry and everybody else. And please just be willing to share your story and talk about it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from A Podcast Studio.